How frustrating is it that you don't own your entire supply chain? How much of an issue is the sort of power you have to give to third parties?
Oh, so look, I think it's important to understand that every single part of this ecosystem is dependent upon other parts of the ecosystem. Nobody controls the entire supply chain. And that's just the nature of doing business at this scale on projects that are as complicated as this, whether it's the design and architecture of the chips, through the fabrication of the chips, through the building of the data center, through the concrete that has to go into the data center.
Yes.
Like, it's just, it's really hard to even contemplate a world in which you have true control over every aspect of it. And so you're going to work with partners, and you're going to work with good partners that are able to help you drive your business forward.
Is this a good partner who's had issues at this PowerShell level?
Yeah, look, they are a good partner, right? Like, we've been working with these guys since 2018. There has been a stumble, there's an issue. The issue is going to be cleaned up rapidly. But I wouldn't say that they're not a good partner. I think that we've gone back and contracted with them again and again, and they've contracted with us again and again because we do work well together. It's just occasionally you hit a bump in the road. What we're talking about here is a contract that gets pushed back by 1 quarter, let's say, and that the impact of that on our revenue is a delay of revenue, not a loss of revenue. And I think that is the definition of working with an ecosystem of good partners.
Michael, good morning. Which customer was it, please, that was impacted by this delay?
We don't speak to specific customers within the data centers. That's not how we look at it. But we really are working with the whole or a material part of the broader kind of ecosystem that consumes compute at this scale. So that's this is a large project. It's from a large counterpart, and like I said, they understand the impact of this delay, and that they are shifting with us the contract back to ensure that the total contract value that was being contemplated is going to be captured at this facility.
I thought you might say that, but I wanted to offer you the opportunity to explain who the customer was anyway.
I appreciate that.
This is going to sound a little bit like I work in your internal audit team or in your risk team, but there is a bigger issue here of managing third-party risk as much as you can. So if your supply is tight today, what procedures are you putting in place for the event that your backlog doubles and supply is even tighter down the road?
Listen, that is the question that we work on across our company continuously, right? And if you think about the messages that I was trying to communicate during the earnings call yesterday, I talked about the incredible impact of the effort that we've had to diversify our clients. We started the year with 85% of our revenue to a single client. And we are coming out of the year with our backlog with, which has reached, all-time highs, where no specific client is more than 35% of it. And that is down from 50% even last quarter. So you're seeing tremendous progress on the contracting side. On the supply side, when you're looking at the powered shells, the data center providers, there is no single provider of data centers that represents in excess of 20% of our 2.9 gigawatts of power that we will be delivering to the market over the next 24 months. So you're seeing a real focus by our company to diversify on both sides of the the ledger. The clients that we are delivering infrastructure to, as well as the suppliers that are delivering us the components that we need to be successful.
What can be done? Because we hear about power issues. We hear about how much people maybe need government to help speed up contracts, supply chain headaches. What is it in this particular data center issue that won't be replicated down the road? How are you making sure, or is it just something we are going to see time and time again, do you think?
So Look, the way that we are handling this is we are doing several discrete things to ensure that we are future-proofing ourselves against these type of delays, right? So we have our team that has been built out over the past year that builds and delivers data center. And so we have a self-build organization to be able to deliver our own data centers. For instance, Kenilworth in New Jersey or Lancaster in Pennsylvania, where we are building from the ground up. Those skill sets, being able to deploy those individuals with those talents down to the data centers as they're being constructed by third parties, if they encounter problems where we can be useful, helpful, thinking through ways of solving and driving the process forward, is really important to being able to mitigate these type of delays. We have massively diversified our data center providers, so we're not exposed to any specific data center provider in too large of a component. And then the third piece of it is it's important to understand that as we get larger, as our delivered power gets larger, the relative impact of a delay at any one given site becomes less and less meaningful and less impactful on our run rate. And that's really important. Like you're encountering scaling issues within a company that's encountering scaling issues within a supply chain. Both of those will get better. Time solves that, scale solves that.
We are currently seeing that time isn't particularly helping the share price as we speak. It's now down 14.3%, worst day since August. We are here with Michael Intrator across radio and TV. And I want to sort of ask whether you think more broadly the US is stunted by the supply chain headache, or do you think there is something that can be done from a federal perspective here to ensure that you can build at the rate you want to build? You're not having these sorts of headaches.
So we and many others have been quite forceful in making the case that there is a role for government in helping us with some of the permitting issues, speed to which we can get our infrastructure and others can get their infrastructure attached to the grid, all of those type of things where there's a great role for the government to help in that. They are the organization or government entity that is correctly positioned to help facilitate that. And I think that's a great role where government can lean in and make an impact across the space broadly.
Michael, you have an agreement with Nvidia that lots of people find very interesting, that down the road, if there is spare capacity, there's some flexibility for you to deploy it elsewhere. That's a simple summation of it. But I'm wondering how you're thinking about serving some of the smaller AI labs and casting that net even wider in your customer base, if indeed that capacity gets freed up down the line.
Yeah, it's a contract I'm actually incredibly excited about, right? It's a contract that we did with Nvidia where we will deliver them compute for the next 6 years. But in the contract is the capacity to interrupt the flow of compute to them. And that will allow us to repurpose that compute to new companies, startups, companies that have struggled to get access to the compute that they require to bring new companies, organizations, ideas into existence. And I think it's just an incredibly important component of how the infrastructure is so important to allowing the ecosystem itself of these startups, of these new companies, of these new ideas to become more resilient, to become more scaled. And it's just a great contract for us to be able to position ourselves. It also provides this wonderful on-ramp for us to be able to work with the new amazing companies that are coming into existence, right, so that they integrate into our solution and get to make use of the best alternative that exists in the market as they're scaling their companies.
Michael, to finish, to what extent is NVIDIA still the gold standard, NVIDIA's GPUs for your customer base? And what data are you tracking on demand for those kind of more inference-specific chips that are offered by others?
Yeah, so look, we have always been client-led, right? Our clients come to market and tell us, hey, we would like you guys to help us build a cluster. We need it to be this size and this location and this type of network. And we work with them in a very kind of interactive way to ensure that the infrastructure that we're building is the best infrastructure for them, is fungible for us, like all of these type of requirements to make for successful delivery of infrastructure. Right now, the reality of the situation is the buy signals from our clients overwhelm our capacity to deliver infrastructure to the market. Matter of fact, they overwhelm the entire market's capacity to deliver infrastructure to the market. You have a systemic shortage of ability to deliver the GPUs, the computing infrastructure for the build out of artificial intelligence. And we have never wavered from that position. We have been very, very clear that, you know, when we look at the demand signals coming into CoreWeave, the totality of that overwhelms the capacity of the market to deliver that, and will continue to do that for quite a while.